sexually powerful women.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live every Tuesday, except for the once a month that we don't. That's at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. And I don't know, you can support this project. Just go to echoplexmedia.com, click the support tab at the top or the support link at the top. Pick your favorite way. I'm partial to the cash money versions, but anything else, and I don't know, tell a friend about this or any of the other offerings. I'm Producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
Greetings, Producer Dave. This is the Councilman, and as always, you can find me on hold with the Kaiser Advice Nurse. So give me a second. I'm sure I'll figure out what's wrong. Hope you're all well. Good to see you, viewer. Nice to hear you, listener. Please keep tuning in. Every week we do this at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right before public comment here on the Echoplex Media Network. So please check us out on Twitch. And then if you aren't into the whole live streaming thing, you can always check us out afterwards. Download the podcast on your favorite streamer and be sure to share it with your friends. Like producer Dave said, we want to advance from being the 9th best local news podcast in California, according to some dude, and try to get into his top 5. So
I'd like to be the 8th, just because that's like an 8th.
And it's like, infinity on its side, sort of. So that's kind of cool too.
Scientology does that in some of their videos, actually. Yeah.
Ooh, spooky. That would be great. So, okay, let's just, we'll target 8th. We'll have modest goals. So if you help us, if you share with one more person, we might just get there. So please do that. And I'm looking forward to the docket this week. We had a lot of fun stuff happening. Some stories have come to fruition and are being sort of wrapped up and getting some closure, but then they're opening new doors. So it's a great time here on Downballot. All derp is local.
And just real quick, we found something interesting that we're going to start adding to public comment. You know about Speaker's Corner in the UK?
I'm vaguely familiar, but yeah, please give us the Cliff Notes.
Oh, it's just somebody gets on their little soapbox and starts yelling about something, and people in the crowd heckle them and shit. It's like a public comment, except they're not in front of government officials, and the people in the audience are free to heckle. So I feel like that's going to be a good little something to kind of change things up a little on public comment, because it's very public and people are certainly making comments.
For sure. I mean, perhaps, it's a little dangerous with our chat, I know, but somehow we could open this up to, to folks hopping on their own virtual soapbox, perhaps sometime here on Downballot or on public comment and voicing their opinions.
During everybody's still welcome to do that. Just nobody does. Nobody wants to talk to me anymore. Everybody doesn't like me. Nobody calls. We don't have the phone system up anymore because I don't know, because it's just too many goddamn windows, too many fucking things to keep track of. I don't want to have to keep track of a phone system too. So
I'm still triggered by the do.
We don't have that anymore. We have like a system, like a call queue system now. So,
ooh, sexy.
So if somebody calls it, that one of the main problems is that I have to notice it, right?
Oh, right.
Otherwise,
and
they're
there's
just
a few screens
sitting on hold.
Anyway, got a few screens going on there. So
they're all full of stuff. Most of it's like audio output and input stuff that I actually don't need to see, but I like some verification that I am making sound in the proper ways.
Well, one day we'll do a whole show about that, right?
Well, we should. I think
it'd be a good idea someday. At some point, we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds. Who is that dude?
I don't know. He sounds great though.
Yeah, seriously, voice for radio.
Sounds smart. Maybe I should get him on the show. I should replace
face for TV, voice for radio
with that guy.
Yeah, we can get him on Downballot. Maybe he'd do an interview.
So, what do we got first for leading off this week?
Well, it's been leading off the last few weeks here on Downballot, except when we haven't had shows. But the local congressional race that has caught national attention, first for one of the very first ties I think we've ever seen in a congressional race, for second place, by the way, not for first place, but that would just mean who was going on to the runoff. The top 2 runoff became a top 3 runoff. And then the top 1 guy apparently, allegedly, had some old cronies, called for a recount, and that effectively has knocked one of the candidates out of the race. So now it's down to the top candidate, that person who facilitated the recount, and one of the 2 folks who were tied originally, and we're going to find out more about what happened and what comes next.
If the video comes up, this is live, in case anybody is unaware.
It will be Evan Lowe in the general election.
Oh, there's
against Sam Liccardo in the hotly contested race for the District 16 congressional seat. Good evening. I'm Amma Dates.
And I'm Dan Ashley. Thanks for joining us. You know, you hear all the time, every vote counts. Every election we say that, but this race was a literal example of that expression. The recount is now complete, and it's Evan Lowe by 5 votes over Joe Simitian. The 2 ended the March primary in a tie for second place, behind Sam Liccardo.
This is the race for Congressional District 16, the seat long held by Anna Eshoo. It represents large portions of San Mateo and Santa Clara counties.
ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Zach Fuentes just finished speaking with Lowe about the race, the recount, and what's next.
Final results Tuesday from Santa Clara County showed the two candidates separated by 4 votes in that county. What we were waiting on Wednesday were results from the other county in the congressional district, San Mateo County. Just before 4 Wednesday, it was confirmed that Evan Lowe picked up 1 more vote in that county and Joe Simidian picked up none, meaning Lowe beat Simidian by 5 votes. We spoke with Lowe just after the final results were released.
This was a nail biter for many of us. In fact, I think I've mentioned before that I would personally experience going to the grocery store, and as I'm picking out some fruits and vegetables, one person says, "Congratulations, you're up today," and the person who overhears next to us says, "No, today he's down." And so it is living that experience. I'm glad that
hipster grocery shops
mattered, and that we are headed into this November election.
Trader Joe's.
Multiple candidates ran in the March 5th primary race to replace retiring Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. And though the primary was meant to come down to 2 candidates, it came down to 3.
We have the top 2 primary system in California, and we ended up with 2 candidates exactly tied for second place. This means that 3 people would go to the runoff in November instead of 2.
Sam Liccardo won first place by a wide margin, and for weeks it was unclear if Evan Lowe or Joe Simidian won second place until the results revealed the tie for second. Though it seemed that all 3 would go to the November ballot, a recount was requested. The Santa Clara County Registrar's Office said recount observers challenged 45 uncounted ballots. The registrar determined that 7 of them that were initially uncounted were valid. The mix-up with that batch had to do with signature matching in boxes that those voters forgot to mark, affirming their citizenship status. There were also mix-ups with some other ballots.
There were 12 ballots in a batch that weren't counted. So that was an error, a human error. We understand we're going to, like I said, going to tighten the processes, but that happened in that ballot counting room, and they were able to fix that and count those ballots.
In a statement, Simidian said he was disappointed but not sad, saying in part, "The good news is the 16th Congressional District's long, painful exercise counting the votes is over. The not so good news, we have come up short. I lost and I concede. I trust the process and I accept the result." In San Jose, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 News.
What else was he going to say?
Yeah, and Joe Simidian is just, that's sort of how he rolls. He's a very old school, very traditional, very classy kind of politician. So that's exactly what he's going to say. But he is absolutely sad as fuck right now. I'm so sorry. He and his entire team, they were looking forward to this race for a long time. They were looking forward to serving in Congress for a long time. And now it's not going to happen. And he's got to kind of reassess what his next steps are, life and politically wise. But yeah, it's a big hit to his ego, I'm sure. So I'm sure I can't imagine he's not sad about it. But you know what? You're right. What else is he going to say? And he's putting on a good face about this entire thing. He's not raising a stink about it. He's not trying to counter recount, right? He's just accepting the results like a responsible person, adult, and moving on. And hopefully going to be spending lots of money of his and his friends' money to attack Sam Liccardo and remind people what a douchebag he is for calling for the recount, for pretty much calling for the recount in the first place and knocking him out. So just like you said, I think we're looking at now, it looks like Joe Simidian being the one who's going to be throwing his weight behind, Evan Lowe and everyone else trying to win this seat and keep anyone but Sam Liccardo from winning the seat.
And okay, one smarmy thing would have been for Sam Liccardo to call for the recall, right? But it's to do it have somebody that everybody knows is connected to him do it. It's just another level of smarmy, trying to shirk that shit off on somebody else. Get out of here.
Yeah, and he doubled down too, which is Liccardo did, which is really disgusting. He wrote an op-ed and he went on his social media and said, "Yeah, of course, you're all naive. Of course, one of my supporters or a supporter of a candidate started a PAC and is doing this. Rarely do things happen like this in politics without supporters of one candidate or another getting involved. So you're all naive and this is just normal politics and blah, 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 blah." But never explaining why the guy who's, calling for the recount, doesn't live in the congressional district, although that's still legal to do. You don't have to live there, apparently, to call for the recount as long as you're willing to pay for it. They don't give a shit, apparently. Didn't live there, was paying for it through a super PAC that does have to disclose its donors at some point, just not today. They don't have to disclose until July.
You're going to find out it was producer Dave that paid.
Yeah, right. You should be lobbying don't disclose. But yeah, they don't have to disclose until July, technically, that who was donating to this effort. And by then, obviously, it's done. Right, and the recount's already done. and we're moving on. Now, whether or not this was a good idea politically for Sam Liccardo is entirely going to be determined by the next 7 months as we progress towards November. And we're going to find out if facing off against one candidate, specifically Evan Lowe in this case, was worth the gambit of spending all that money and spending all his supporters' money that could really be used to support him in the runoff, right? Now that money's gone, and they're going to have to, raise it again. I'm sure they can. But it's a question mark. I don't know that it's better for him to have faced two other candidates or just one of them. And I don't know if it's even in one-on-one, if it's better to face Joe or Evan. But I think Evan has a pretty wide lane.
I have the answer. It's better to face both of them because they're probably going to divide the progressive vote to some extent, and better to face Joe than Evan because Evan is a good fundraiser, good-looking guy, like
celebrity.
Deep ties to the community, at least in the West Valley, and there's a lot of money over there in that West Valley, friend.
Yeah, sir. And he's like a local celebrity. He's even got celebrity connections, right? He knows, I'm going to name drop producer Dave, watch out. But, Dr. Ken Jeong, from, The Hangover and TV's Masked Singer fame. He's also friends with Simu Liu, who's from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he's definitely well connected in Hollywood circles and famous circles. And he can leverage that. And that's really, with this day and age, celebrity is to some extent a very hot commodity in politics. And if he's using it for good, right? If he's coming at this from, Evan's not, he is not the most ardently progressive, like the Bernie Sanders maybe wing of the party. But if a Democrat can come and use this, and a progressive Democrat can use that kind of leverage that kind of celebrity that other a-hole candidates have leveraged to do their a-hole thing and do it for good, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely valid, and let's all get on the bandwagon, because I think anyone at this point, anyone but the dude who wanted to, just be a dick, basically.
Right. All right, well, we're going to move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners unless you were rooting for somebody and then they probably lost. So, moving on real quick. I don't usually do this during the show, but I thank you for the raid. We got some goats, some people joining the live stream. If you're listening on the podcast, you don't know what that is. You might want to come hang out on Twitch sometime and find out what that is. Welcome any newbies. Okay, we're moving on to winners and losers. This first story is California Forever plan moves forward. So, you remember how Peter Thiel was trying to build his own private island or some shit? Well, some other people are trying to do that, but they're just trying to do it on land that's already in California next to an Air Force base.
Inland.
The project is called California Forever, and as we've been reporting for months, it's facing a lot of criticism. This is the group of billionaires aiming to build a new city in Solano County. Today, that group announced it secured the signatures to get the initiative on the November ballot. However, it's still going to be an uphill battle. Here's NBC's Pete Serratos.
Over 20,000 Solano residents have signed the petition.
California Forever CEO Jan Schermack says his group has gathered the signatures they need to place their initiative before voters this November. The group wants to build a green community that it claims will include thousands of affordable homes, shopping, dining, and walkable neighborhoods in what is currently farmland near Travis Air Force Base. But voters must first decide to rezone.
Those people are going to move there and then complain about the chemtrails.
17,500 acres of land for development.
I think it's a real vote of confidence by the voters in Solano County.
The businesses downtown are dead. There's no restaurants really to eat at. When people come into town, I have to take them either to Napa or somewhere else.
Vicki Jackson is one of the 20,407.
Lady, maybe the restaurants are dead because you keep taking everybody to Napa when they come visit you.
Who has signed on. The longtime real estate agent says she's tired of a lack of services and affordable housing in Solano County. She says she just had to deliver bad news to another client.
The person couldn't really qualify because the interest rates were so high, and the payment was going to be around $5,000. And so, and this is a family that can put 20% down, and still they can't really afford the $5,000 payments.
Yeah, but putting like a tech utopia right next door to you isn't really going to help that family, I don't think.
Well, yeah, and I can just sort of see this as a thing where, like, yes, come, we will offer you affordable housing, right? And, low payments, but you're indentured to us for like 50 fucking years on your mortgage, right? Like, I don't know. This looks a little shady to me.
It's some version of that 16 tons and what do you get song, but it's about like 16 pages of code instead, right?
16 pages. What do you get? Yeah, totally. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to infringe on any copyright.
Terrible idea.
Congressman John Garamendi
I agree,
is among
John.
the elected officials who remain staunchly opposed to the plan. Garamendi says voters will end up shouldering the cost.
Understand that the taxpayers of Solano County, the state of California, and quite possibly the federal government are going to be asked to finance a good portion of this urban sprawl.
We're going to be announcing a number of employers who want to come here.
I love how they got like a Klaus Schwab impersonator to be their representative too.
So, okay, real quick before I want to finish up the clip, but this guy, like, I don't understand. Like, maybe this passes, maybe this goes somewhere, and maybe it does end up happening. But man, from a comms perspective, as a former communications director, right, for large organizations, this guy, why would you? I mean, yeah, he's the CEO. Great. That's fantastic. Why is he the front for this organization?
Right,
like,
that real estate agent we saw
She'd
earlier with ties to the community would have been great.
She'd be fabulous, right? If she's the board, like, she'd get a board together, make her your board chair, and she's the spokesperson. Why is this douchebag with my haircut doing this? Right? Why is he the one out there with his accent too? Like, I mean, God bless anyone. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone with an accent, but like, it's just a bad look, right? Right? You want someone from Solano County at least, right, to be the spokesperson. You couldn't find someone. They could in all this time, right? We've been talking about this for days. They couldn't find someone. This had to be brought to their attention. Like, I don't know if Jan is the best person to be out there. So either this guy has the biggest ego imaginable and he can stand up to the Peter Thiels and the it's actually Mark Andreessen, but
Mark Andreessen,
Andreessen. If he can stand up to the Mark Andreessens of the world, then maybe, okay, I guess that's why he's still there. I just don't understand how they can have all this money and all these resources, and this is the guy that they put out there in front of the step and repeat to talk about it. Anyway, let's finish up the last bit of
the only person cut from this mold they could have picked that would have been worse would have been David Sachs, I think, or Peter Thiel himself.
Absolutely, or Elon maybe.
Major entertainment things that would come to Solano County. And I think people are going to start asking elected officials, how many companies did you bring to Solano County?
The county registrar is now...
Is that a recall threat? That's a recall threat.
Signatures, a process that could take weeks. In Solano County, Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
This is just like everything's wrong with this. There's nothing good about this. They're like,
we're going to bring winners and losers.
We're going to bring business to your city by propping up a new city with its own cute bistros in it. That, first of all, well, no, people are just going to go to like fucking Andreessen land or whatever to like listen to like really bad blues music covers, and then Mark Andreessen will insist on being the master of ceremonies, and the party's just going to suck.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll have like acid jazz, but really, yeah, this belongs on winners and losers because there's no winners here if this thing wins. So please, for the love of fucking God, if you live in Solano County, vote this shit down. But again, we're going to keep following it. We'll keep exposing all of the ins and the outs. But yeah, I don't buy it at all. I don't buy this Norman Rockwell vision of some sort of utopia.
Oh, I buy the Norman Rockwell vision. I buy that exactly. What would people in a fucking Norman Rockwell painting look like, friend?
That's true. They got a Coca-Cola at least, so that looks that was good. But seriously, you're also. We haven't even gotten into. I mean, yeah, this is a complete sham. This is obviously some sort of grift, right? For billionaires to just keep making more billions. We haven't even begun to discuss the environmental impacts, the insanity of building a brand new city in the middle of East Solano County, the middle of fucking nowhere, right? At least right now, like the services and everything you have to provide and to run out there, the cost, the expense, the sprawl. It's just silly. It's completely counterintuitive to everything we're trying to do in terms of sustainability. On top of everything else we've already discussed. So
5% off your McMansion if you make your kids join the volunteer fire department.
Yes, you have to give back. If you give back of yourself, what services can you provide? If you can provide services, we will give you a discount.
Fucking
on your
libertarian
HOA
dream.
dues.
Libertarian dream.
What are the HOA dues? Sign me the fuck up.
Oh, dude, I'm just telling you too, because it's right next to a fucking Air Force base, dude. People are going to be complaining about the noise and shit from the airplanes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I paid so much money for this house, and now I have to listen to these planes. It's like, well, when the hell did you check out the house, bro?
Did anybody not mention the Air Force base nearby?
They're talking about it all the time on the news. Like, it's right near. Where is it? It's near Travis Air Force Base. Okay, like that's if you don't know, you know now.
I mean, if they have their own Fleet Week up there, I'd go just to go people watching. But that's a different matter entirely. My God.
So more to come on California Forever, everyone, because after all, it's going on forever. So we'll just keep talking about it forever.
Oh man, this is funny. The next one, during public comment, we've been watching sometimes Los Gatos, and the thing that this next story is about comes up. What's happening in Los Gatos, best I can tell. I mean, other than like a very odd downtown that should be cracking, but is just full of chains. Like there's an Apple store in your downtown Los Gatos. Come on.
Yeah,
but
really.
What's going on here is nobody is willing to, like, I guess, spend political capital or whatever to allow for taller buildings than some people in the community want. And they may think that's a good idea, but built into some of these housing laws that have recently passed is something called the builder's remedy, where if either the city or the county, basically if local jurisdictions, and I might be butchering this, but I think I'm going to get the broad strokes right. Local jurisdictions are just not allowing you permits, and you've gone through the process and can demonstrate, I believe it's to the state, that you have tried to go through the process to build. Now you can just build whatever is within state regulation based upon where you're at. And that is going to be much taller buildings than are being proposed by these developers. And these developers are just going to be like, to the moon. You don't got a lot of you don't got a lot of width in Los Gatos, but as much height as the law allows.
This is true. And you were absolutely very close to almost spot on with your analysis. And it's what happens with the builder's remedy is if the state has to approve your local jurisdiction, like Los Gatos's housing plan, right? Their plan to build more housing over the next, every 8-year cycle. If they do not approve it, and you lapse, right? Your last plan lapses and your new plan isn't in place, then in that period, exactly what you said could happens, where developers will come forward with projects that don't need local ministerial approval. They just need state pass state muster, and they're good. And that has come to pass. And Los Gatos, I think just very recently, had their housing plan approved, but it was in a gray area for a long period. So I think we're going to learn about at least one project that came through that process.
Somebody in chat, Levelhead, the person that rated us, is very close to spot on as a standard I can live with.
We aim for the highest here on the 9th best local news podcast in California.
All right, so up next we got a local news hit on this. Let's see what KPX5 has to say about this.
Let's do it.
Now to one of California's biggest challenges, building enough affordable housing. Conventional wisdom is building single-family homes just isn't going to cut it anymore. So the community of Los Gatos is trying something new, but residents aren't exactly thrilled. Devin Philly is here with us now.
Wait, why wouldn't you be? I'd be thrilled. Like, they should be totally thrilled with whatever this is. This looks like it belongs in Los Gatos.
It's beautiful. It looks like a hotel.
Yeah, to ease the housing crisis.
It's expensive to live there. It is to live in a nice hotel.
Communities are turning to projects with greater density. Apartments and townhomes and condos and high-rises, but that sometimes leads to clashes with older established neighborhoods where people just don't want massive high-rises plopped down right in the middle of
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories.
Bam. Oh,
high-rise.
Yeah. 6, including the ground floor.
That's exactly the story that's unfolding in the town of Los Gatos.
I'm more concerned about the height. It's being proposed at 7 stories. That's pretty tall and out of character for the town of Los Gatos.
Jeff Fox says the high-rise apartment complex would tower over his home and neighborhood and offer a bird's-eye view directly into his backyard.
Ooh, what are you doing in your backyard, Jeff?
I believe in more housing. I believe
in more housing, just in Campbell.
More affordable housing,
over there.
I do believe that we should try to preserve the character of our neighborhoods.
Fox has lived in this quiet Los Gatos neighborhood for 25 years, and he and many of his neighbors are deeply concerned about the plans to build a 7-story apartment complex on the backside of their homes. According to the application submitted to the town in March, the complex would have 238 apartments, 47 of which would be affordable, or 20%.
I'm really concerned about the privacy for the neighbors on this side of the street.
Carlene Schoenberg has lived on Benedict Lane for 51 years.
But lady, you have trees and shit all over you. You can't see through the trees just because you're up high.
And what are you doing in your backyard that you don't, right?
Well,
what's going on back there?
I mean, you should have a right to not have people like peeping Tomming on you and shit. But
for sure. But, I mean, that's really the only reason people would be peeping is if there's something going on.
But also, she had hella trees. You can't see through the trees.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Tree-lined streets and single-family homes, and fears that all of that charm will be dwarfed by the giant complex if it's built.
I think it's a little massive considering that this is supposed to be a town and not a major city.
The developer, Green Valley Corporation, submitted its application under Senate Bill 330, which streamlines the approval process for new housing statewide if a project already meets the city's zoning and design regulations. Neighbors fear that's going to tie the town council's
They already tolerated that person lowering their BMW.
It will literally overshadow the homes they've lived in for decades.
It's one thing to be 3 stories, 4 stories, like they built in Campbell. But 7
but that's because
there it is.
But that's because they've been doing like the 3 to 5. They've been, and the Avalon is not 3 to 4 stories, friend. Avalon is huge, and I think it's like 10 stories right there on Railway in Campbell. No, it's because they've been doing it the whole time. You stupid motherfucker. Like the people, like there are a few NIMBYs, but the people who were elected in Campbell were just like, we have to build more housing, and it is dense, and it is a desirable place to live. I would rather be able, if I could move to either Campbell or Los Gatos, I would move right back to Campbell, not Los Gatos.
Yes, very much so. And especially if I didn't have to live next door to this guy and his hat.
Right. I like his hat.
I like his glasses.
Just way too high.
We did reach out to the mayor and town council in Los Gatos. They sent us an email in which they said we respectfully but flatly decline to comment on this issue.
They don't want to get in the middle of it right now.
They don't.
Not with the reporter.
They kind of feel like their hands are tied a little bit.
Well, they are because they're idiots.
For a long time, and then you know that we need more housing. So
it's right on the other. It's going to be right on the other side of their fence.
All right, we'll keep following this, Devin.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's because they're idiots. The guy, Campbell didn't but also I think Avalon's taller than that. I think Avalon is taller. I think it might be 10 stories.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, I mean, I'm not saying I know the specs of this proposal. I don't know, but a lot of the times with these zoning codes that they have, you see a lot of step downs and situations where, the 7-story. You have to think about it. The 7-story building is not going to be on this guy's property line, right? Like the 7-story wall is not going to be like
it's going to be back
at his fence. It's back. It's step back. It probably will even have to step up, right? Maybe they have 4 stories. 30 feet back from the property line, and then 5 stories, 50 feet back from the property line, right? Like they have a lot. That's what San Jose does. I don't know that Los Gatos has the same regulations, but also I don't know the specs of what's the street like. I understand this guy's on a nice quiet street. What's the street that this building is going to be on, right? Is that a main street? Is it Winchester, right? Because then it makes perfect sense. And it's like, well, dude, you live a block away from a main thoroughfare. Right. How long did you realistically think it was going to be before someone tried to develop that property into more dense housing or dense something? Because that's the way of the world, right? Like, regardless of the housing crisis, it was going to get developed eventually. So I'm sorry. When the good wife and I, God bless our lucky asses, bought a home, or were able to buy a home, we thought about all those things. We looked at our 30-year mortgage and we're like, well, at the end of these 30 years, what is this place going to look like, right? What is this property going to look like? We thought about it. And, I don't know why anyone else wouldn't make those kind of like, assessments. I understand that sometimes you're getting into a home and it's like, that's my forever home. It's where I'm going to die. And that's great. But you also have to think about what it's going to be like when you're in your golden years, right? When if you want to just chillax, maybe being a block away from Winchester is not where you want to be. Right. So
I just don't know. And like, again, like he said, they did 3 and 4 stories in Campbell, and it's like, well, they did that. They've been doing that they've been making it more dense for a long time. Campbell's been so far as I can tell, they've been making it more dense since the 80s.
Yeah, and they've made it a priority, right? Like they've made it methodical, and it's never been a situation where they've had to have huge jumps, right? Huge leaps, right? Well, Los Gatos every city has obligations to meet. Every single city has not, whether you're a town, like Los Gatos still calls himself a town.
It's a city. There's enough, like technically it's a city, right? The number of people there, it's a city.
I think that, I don't know. I have no idea how you determine the designation. They still call themselves a town, whatever. It is a city.
Town is a place where you still have a general store, sir.
Yeah. There's like one intersection, right? With like maybe a light, or maybe just like a stop sign, or maybe like a yield sign on
once the Apple Store and the Lululemon go in, you are no longer a town.
I thought it was the artisanal gelato shop, but that might just be me. Anyway,
no, that's just a place to take a shit. Is in front of there.
I kind of want some gelato now. Shit. All right. Well, maybe a burger first. All right. But anyway, long story short, Los Gatos, get over your shit. And one thing I do like about Los Gatos, and this is going to be really fun in this situation, do you know, you've been through Los Gatos, I'm sure, producer Dave. Are you familiar with the sort of stanchions and flags that they put up when there's a proposed development on a site? And they basically put up little flag, like orange flags and rods and poles that depict the structure, right? The frame of the structure that's going to be built, right? To give residents and locals an idea of the impact, right? And what it's going to visually look like. I can't wait to see that for this project.
You're going to have them big ass flags.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. 7 stories of just orange flags. It's going to like be distracting airplanes from San Jose Airport. Anyway.
Yeah, they've known this was coming for a long time.
Yes, absolutely. I guarantee you the Mr. Hat Dude, Mr. Fancy Hat Dude knew about this many, many years ago. I'm sure the developers and the city have been reaching out to the community and offering, feedback sessions. I'm sure he's offered this feedback before and just doesn't feel that he's been received well. And that's his right, and everyone can approach these things how they're going to do it. But I'm 100% certain that they've been reaching out and doing their diligence about making sure the community is informed about what's coming.
I'm just thinking of like, think about Mountain View 15 years ago and Mountain View now. It's like a completely different fucking place.
Yeah, as it should be, as everything should be here. Everything evolves. Economies evolve. People evolve. Species evolve. So we're just evolving as a culture and a society here. We've gone from ag to more tech and sort of sprawlish, and now we're having to evolve again and become a more diverse culture and accept more
and a tolerant culture,
more industries and a tolerant culture. Exactly. So
like where I live, even just 20 years ago, it's very different. Like right around BART, there's these tall condos and apartment buildings all over by BART.
Yeah. And
my mom wants one of them, actually. She wants one of those condos. She's like, I need to live in a place where I can walk to the store and take an elevator up to my home. She's like, that's all I want.
You get a cool view out of it too. I mean, there's some people that want that call for, there's advocates that say we should be building even higher, right? Especially on the BART lines and the transit lines. They say like, go up 30 stories, 40 stories, whatever, right? And then we look at others. I go to other cities, right? Outside of California, even, and outside of San Jose for certain. And, you've got these, 70, 80 story towers downtown, right? Imagine getting any of that passed in San Jose or in this area, right? Or imagine getting a 30-story building approved. Even with the airport flight path, I get it, but but imagine like getting something like that approved. It would be next to impossible. So we do have to evolve at some point, but it's just frustratingly slow.
Yeah, some of these people are sort of aging out of the process, I guess is the best way to say it. So
yes, exactly. So hopefully we all don't, but you and I don't become conservative fucks in our older years and elder years, and we stay as rambunctious as we are now in our youth, and we continue to vote the way we want, the way we do now.
When I get old enough to be a tired old queen, I want to be a tired old queen with a Molotov cocktail.
I endorse your ability and your freedom to do that, Producer Dave. I love America. God bless America.
So up next, we got a protest. This is people on kayaks protesting Chevron.
Kayaktivists, if you will.
Kayaktivists. Very, very, very cute name. I bet whoever came up with that at the NBC Bay Area is very proud of themselves.
Let's learn more.
No more pollution. That is a message from a unique protest in the Bay. Climate activists took over part of the East Bay, demanding changes at the Chevron refinery. NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith explains what demonstrators want from the global-based company in the East Bay.
After hours on the bay near the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge, these so-called kayaktivists returned to the shore in Richmond this afternoon.
This was a peaceful protest out on the water.
The kayakers had signs that read, "Pollute no more, act now, clean air, water, and soil for all."
It's a global day of action to call out injustices perpetrated by the Chevron Corporation.
Alfredo Angulo is with the Rich City Rays.
And what we're saying is, hey, Chevron, the people of Richmond deserve a healthy, safe future, and so do your workers, and so we need to make sure that the refinery is transitioning to sustainable, renewable practices.
The group is dedicated to climate justice.
We had all of our folks go out to the wharf to temporarily block one of the ships to let them know that, we are the people of Richmond are tired and we are a force to be reckoned with.
The activists claim low-income communities of color are negatively impacted by Chevron and hope their signs and colorful kayaks will send a message.
I think what's unique about this protest is it's leading with joy and love. There's a lot of anger that can be felt towards Chevron and towards the fossil fuel industry, but Rich City Rays is very dedicated to making sure that the number one mission is leading with joy.
We reached out to Chevron. In a statement, the company says it respects the rights of individuals to peacefully express their viewpoints, adding Chevron Richmond remains focused on safely and reliably providing essential energy that keeps the Bay Area moving. In Richmond, Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
Well, that's of course what they're going to say. They have a spokesperson who knows how to say things.
Yeah, they have attorneys and lots of money too. So but interesting point from the kayaktivist about leading with love, and yet the image from out in the water was "Abolish Chevron" in big red letters. So maybe not so much love for your enemy, which is fine, but leading with love for the community. I get it. I feel that.
I don't know. That's cool. I wish I would have learned to kayak.
Right? Then you could be out there kayaktivisting.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Hey, what? Hey, you're never too old to learn new tricks, Producer Dave. I think you should definitely look into it and get down with the Rich City Rays, man. Looks like they're a pretty hot group.
They look like advanced kayakers. They would probably make fun of me. They wouldn't lead with love when I'm like, "Hey, how do you drive this thing?"
Oh no, they would totally nurture your abilities and make sure that you come along smoothly, I'm sure, and get indoctrinated into their midst. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, let's move on to somewhere else to elsewhere in the Northeast Bay. Antioch. Do y'all know where Antioch is?
God, Antioch's just not having a good couple years, friend.
They're not. So recently we had on Downballot, as in last week, I think we had the story of the administrator at Antioch Unified School District who had been hazing employees that he did not like, including up to the point of putting one employee's desk on the roof of their office or a temporary structure at their office. Anyway, long story short, there was a lot of outcry. The superintendent was good friends with the administrator and was sort of protecting him, and the board was calling for her resignation. All sorts of drama ensued. An investigation was called for, and now it looks like there's been step in hopefully the right direction. And we're going to find out more about it from NBC Bay Area.
And new tonight, an Antioch school supervisor has been placed on administrative leave following an NBC Bay Area investigation. Hours ago, a board member confirmed with me this information about Antioch Unified Director of Maintenance, Ken Turnage. Now, according to a letter to board members from Human Resources, Turnage was placed on leave 3 days after our investigative unit's exclusive report. It spotlighted claims that Turnage moved an employee's desk to a roof as punishment. At least 10 current and former employees have reported bullying complaints that span months. Several of them tell us Turnage hasn't been held accountable, and here's why.
Oh, his personal relationship with our superintendent.
Because of his relationship with the superintendent's husband and the superintendent.
Ken Turnage is still there because of his relationship to the superintendent.
At the district's next school board meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m., the board president tells us he plans to call for a vote to remove the superintendent from her position.
Fuck yeah, let's party.
Allegations. We have reached out to Turnage as well as the superintendent, Stephanie Anello, and we have not heard back.
Oh, that's going to be spicy. That's tomorrow.
It was, yeah. So that we definitely want to grab that for next week, or at least, we can maybe do it live shit. But last week we had the story of the board president calling for a closed session hearing about this and a special meeting about this, and only 2 board members, himself and one other, showing up out of the 5, and 3 of them sitting it out. Because again, they're in, obviously supportive of the superintendent, and this gets into the tale of school boards and the ineffectiveness of school boards to do their fucking job. And their one job really is to hire and fire the superintendent, and they don't necessarily have a lot of power in that regard. So it's important when they do, and when they do take it seriously, that they step up. And I'm glad to see that something's being done here. But again, it could be more. But that's where we need more effective and more diligent and dynamic and leaders. We need leaders in our school boards, not followers.
And speaking of schools, we're going to go down to San Francisco now. It looks like the San Francisco Unified School District is running out of money, and let's see how bad. Like I got a couple bucks in my wallet. Should I just send it to them?
I got 5 on it.
And new this morning, the California Board of Education is taking control of the troubled San Francisco Unified School District spending after auditors determined the district is in distressed financial condition and could run out of money. Today in the Bay,
could fire the auditors. They must be costing something.
In San Francisco, where the school board plans to address these budget shortfalls. Tom?
Good morning, Ginger. As you know, San Francisco Unified School District has been hit hard with declining enrollment, losing more than 10,000 students over the past decade or so. And that means lots of lost revenue from state education dollars and federal education dollars, tens of millions of dollars every year that the city's not getting to spend on education here in San Francisco. And the state superintendent notified district officials on Friday that they might not meet their financial obligations for the current fiscal year 2024-2025. A budget oversight team that was appointed by the state will present its findings to the SFUSD Board of Education in a meeting at 6:30 tonight here in San Francisco. The state superintendent asked the district to have a corrective action plan in place by June 30th. In a press statement Friday, District Superintendent Dr. Matt Wayne acknowledged improvements are needed and also said, quote, "We are committed to accelerating our efforts to address the remaining concerns to ensure that San Francisco public schools are places where students can learn, grow, and thrive." Due to the declining enrollment, the district has also been considering closing a number of schools to help offset some of those budget shortfalls, and the schools that will be closed or which could be closed are expected to be voted on in December. Another thing that could be coming up tonight in that meeting with the state board and also that fiscal oversight team that will make its presentation tonight. We're live in San Francisco. Tom Jensen, Today in the Bay.
Very interesting. I know they're also looking to get feedback from families to see which schools are being discussed to being closed down. So a lot to watch out for.
The families are going to say none of them.
Not mine.
But I feel like there's a way to do this if they do it where it's like 2 or 3 years out, and they start early and start like they should be closing these schools down in phases, right? Like they should be.
Yes.
Don't just close the school, cut it by a third, move some of the students, cut it by like do this smart, phase this school out.
Yeah, I mean that it's. And now that you they're going to naturally let it happen through attrition and through, declining enrollment period. But yeah, almost every time school districts wait way too long to engage their community on these issues, and they wait way too long to start the process because they're either, it's a combination of things. They're afraid of the backlash and the families who say, well, not my school, right? And they're afraid of going through the process and adding more work to their plate, right? And they just don't want to do that. They're reluctant to do that. And then the costs, right? And the political costs and the fundamental costs of the whole endeavor. It's, they maybe I think part of it's also that maybe they expect something's going to change, right? They won't have to, suddenly the budget will change and there'll be money there and they won't have to close the school after all. And they don't want to have to start the process and then say, oh no, we didn't have to do it. They rose-colored glasses, crossing their fingers, whatever you want to call it. That's a bit of it too. So, I'm not at all excusing them, but they really need to start these processes sooner. You're right, and engage people and get it rolling sooner. Because if you do that, families are going to be pissed. Like, right, if your school closes down, okay, fine, it's definitely an inconvenience for you. I get it, right? But they will understand it more if they have like 3 years to prepare or 2 years to prepare for their kid having to get bused across town, or what they're going to do with childcare after school if they can't get there to get them, right? So. Bring parents along, bring families along earlier, and you'll find that they maybe don't want to recall your ass.
Right. And I mean, not for nothing, San Francisco is pretty dense. So I could understand if the school's just around the way or whatever, but if you're traveling a little bit already to get to the school, the traveling to get to the other school probably isn't going to be that much farther because it's just a dense place. And the schools will also help with that as well too. That expense, right? Like the district will help with that if they're transitioning kids to a different school, they're going to get them free transportation somehow, right? So to get it done anyway. So we're moving on to get your shit together, and it's a story about San Francisco and shit.
Right? What could go wrong possibly?
So apparently the EPA is suing San Francisco for dumping billions of gallons of sewage into the Pacific Ocean and the Bay. Fucking good job. Good job, San Francisco. Maybe a panda will fix it.
The federal government is suing the city of San Francisco for dumping billions of gallons of sewage into the Pacific Ocean and San Francisco Bay. According to a new lawsuit filed by the Environmental Protection Agency and California water officials, the releases have been happening since 2016. It amounts to an average of 1.8 billion gallons each year of combined sewage. That includes untreated sewage, wastewater, and stormwater runoff. The lawsuit also alleges the city allowed its sewer systems to fall into disrepair and didn't notify residents about the presence of sewage. An SFPUC spokesperson called the suit unfair and told the Examiner sewer discharges in the city have been reduced by more than 80% in the last 50 years.
The suit is unfair. Well, that'll be found out in court. So the storm runoff, I don't know. It's just fucking storm runoff. You can't, I think, but the sewage, the untreated sewage being dumped in the ocean, that's bad.
Yeah, that's not cool, San Francisco. What the fuck? I thought you guys were like the progressive capital of the world. But then again, it's also the city that just left poop sitting on the street. So maybe they found a way to put the poop into the ocean in the bay. That's what London Breed's solution was. Take it off the sidewalk and in front of the artisanal muffin shop or cupcake shop and put it in the bay. Perfect solution.
Yep.
Until someone looked.
Now it's time to move on to Down Ballot Watch. This is a recall watch because they're recalling the Alameda County DA. And
not, but yes,
this headline here from the local news, it says that the supervisors voted to delay. They delayed the vote. They didn't delay the vote, right? They chose a date for the election.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It took me a second to figure out if they delayed their own vote on when to hold the election, or if they delayed the actual date of the election. But or quote unquote. But let's find out more from our lovely friends at ABC News Bay Area.
Recall Rice! Recall Public safety is priceless, say members of the group SAFE, who are calling for a special election to recall Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price.
The recall is going to happen right away, and this is it.
They gathered in front of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors
right now
ahead of the board's meeting, where they were met with DA Price supporters.
Stop scapegoating Price! Stop scapegoating Price!
During the meeting, a lawyer for
That's
DA
not a
Price
good chant.
challenged the legality of even scheduling a special election, claiming the registrar voters did not follow proper protocol during the signature count. The recall supporters are demanding an immediate vote on the recall election. After 3 hours of public comment, the board voted to decide the date for a recall election at a special meeting they'll hold on May 14th. That will give the supervisors the option of either scheduling a special election this summer or consolidating the recall election with the November election,
which is smart,
saving the county upwards of $20 million.
A handful of wealthy folks who want to overturn the election has been rife with fraud, has been rife with harassment of my supporters.
DA Price announced Tuesday that the California Fair Political Practices Commission, or FPPC, has opened an investigation into the recall. DA Price filed complaints over allegations of illegal signature gathering and financial irregularities by the PAC funding the recall.
We know that the PAC that was used to raise money initially for SAFE was not properly designated. There are rules of how a PAC can be designated, and they did not follow those rules.
Carl Chan
Imagine that.
says the DA is just trying to intimidate the recall camp.
Everything, has to be disclosed. So whatever she can claim is fine. But we know we are doing, the people are doing everything illegally.
In Oakland, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
So I like how that sign said that, like, basically every day we spend money on all of these things. But I'm not sure that, like, voting to recall the DA is going to fix anything, like, immediately. Even if the DA was doing a bad job, right? That would mean basically that you would have to put in somebody who's doing maybe less harm. That's
Correct.
the replacement.
Yeah, right.
If
And
the
what's
DA was in
alternative?
fact doing a bad job, but you don't know who you're going to get as the replacement.
Right, and I don't know if it's a similar situation to San Francisco where, like, the mayor gets to appoint the new DA. I don't think that's the case because San Francisco is a very unique case with the county and city overlapping. So there's no real appointing body. Maybe the supervisors can appoint someone in the interim until the next election. But regardless, yeah, it's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't. But they obviously have a beef with DA Price. We've known that all along. I don't know if there were, super irregularities or fraud or anything going on with their effort. Fine. They got the signatures. They got it on the ballot. I'm very excited for them. But yeah, the supervisors should absolutely take their time and figure this out. And they should absolutely consolidate it with a normal election because, one, you're saving taxpayers $20 million. And two, you're also ensuring that just the way that campaigns break down and turnout works, you're ensuring that more people are actually going to have a say in this election than just a handful of people who, vote in, like, July special elections or whatever, August special elections. Probably wouldn't be August. So there's a variety of reasons to consolidate with the regular election. Also to stick, metaphorically stick a finger up the ass of these supporters who are wasting all of our time and money when they could just be trying to find a candidate who could beat this DA in a regular election, but they can't and they won't. They don't want to do all that. They don't want to go through the trouble. They just want to do it the easy way from their perspective.
The question on the ballot, it should be, whatever, recall DA Price, and the answers should be yes, no, and who is DA Price?
We have a DA. What is DA? I do have to say, though, good God, her supporters need to get a better chance. Stop scapegoating Price. Like, that is not a chant. That's like putting me to sleep already. So try to find three words that go together a little more and are a little more catchy than that.
There could be a play on words about the price and the cost of the election, the cost of a special election.
Right. Well, the other side had a great one, right? The justice is priceless, right? I think that's great. That's genius right there. So let's try and get a little creative. I'm sure she has consultants. She got elected in the first place. So let's come up with something a little craftier.
I'm available.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm kind of like insinuating that, like, the the Downballot consulting agency is very much available for you, DA Price, if you so choose to utilize our services. We do come at a pretty significant cost, but we can definitely be cost effective compared to some of the consultants, I'm sure, who are advising you, who are probably older and wider than us.
I would probably be one of those political consultants that you could deny that you've ever met me. If we need to set up that kind of arrangement.
Yeah, we can meet at Hobie's.
All right, up next we got Joe Simidian. Our leading off story was about the runoff between Joe Simidian and Evan Lowe, and here's a story about Joe just kind of getting back to work, which is good for him. Good for him. He's not having people storm the registrar of voters or anything, so good for him. We'll take whatever victories we can get around here.
Well, he was in the middle of one of the most hotly contested congressional races ever. Joe Simidian ended up in a tie for second place with Evan Lowe, with one of them trying to advance to the November election against Sam Liccardo.
Yeah, we had followed this throughout the entire way. It triggered a request for a recount that ultimately gave Evan Lowe a win by just 5 votes. And now the Santa Clara County supervisor is conceding, heading back to work, and he spoke exclusively with NBC's
San
Robert
Mateo
Honda.
County supervisor, wasn't he?
Hold tight.
Okay.
Joe Simidian is back to official duties as a Santa Clara County supervisor today, including opening the farmers market in Los Altos.
It's been an interesting couple of months, to say the least. I described it to a friend as spending 2 months swimming in quicksand.
Simidian says he's still disappointed by the narrow loss to Assemblyman Evan Lowe because he looked forward to a runoff in November against former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, but also says he accepted the recount, he accepts the results, and is ready to move forward.
Today's the first day, now that the results are clear, when I can just go to the office, get the work done, and not have that lingering question in the back of my mind.
Kind of a relief?
It's definitely liberating. Let's put it that way. Am I sad? I am not. Look, I got a great life, a great wife, and fascinating and important, worthwhile work to do with the county. So life is good. I'm a lucky guy, but it's liberating to know, okay, the results are in. 2 months of tick, 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 tick was, I think, tough for everybody.
Simidian talked about the moment he learned about the tie. At that point, he was 1 vote ahead.
They said, no, we have one more ballot that has qualified, and it's now a dead heat. It's a tie. And you're thinking, can this get any stranger? And
yes,
I thought not, but it did.
You got a lot of praise and compliments for the way you accepted this. Where did that statement kind of come from?
Well, it came from my heart. That's how I feel about things. It also comes from the experience I've had. As I say, look, if there's an election, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. And in, the last 12 elections prior to this one, I've been the winner.
Simidian says still, once in a while, he thinks about just how close he came. A lot of athletes say that it hurts worse to lose a close contest than it does to lose in a blowout. What do you think about that in an election sense?
I think I would say that the greatest challenge is spending 2 months to get to that result.
Anything you want to say about November and the candidates?
Well, I worry that it will get contentious.
It's an election.
I worry that it will get too contentious too quickly.
Simidian isn't making predictions, but points out, as we have all learned by now, anything can happen. In Los Altos, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
Wow. That was just depressing. The cutting of the ribbon. Oh, and the sweater with the elbow pads too. Just, oh man. Well, Joe Simidian, a life well lived in public service. He has been in office for 30 years. So, it's not as though he hasn't had his opportunities. And he served at the state. He served in very fine capacity. Served twice at the Board of Supervisors. And yeah, he won 12 elections in a row. So,
yeah.
Good on him. Good on him.
He was like, hey, I've got a good relationship with my wife. And sometimes, somebody loses and he's like, I've won a bunch of elections. Like that's, not the worst, not the worst perspective to have. So he's
not
fine.
At all. No, and his wife's a dynamo, by the way, too, in her own right. So and she was the mastermind behind a lot of his political career. So and she's still pulling strings in politics, both locally and regionally and statewide. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And Just good to see. Back to the grind. Public service never stops.
All right, now we're going to check in on Mayor Ed 209 of San Jose.
Yeah, we don't have to watch this whole thing necessarily, but the city budget is recently been released, and Mayor Ed 209, seen here, finding out that unhoused people exist, is going to go over it a little bit here with a local news station and talk about some of the highlights from his perspective.
Welcome back. We are moving the Bay Area forward this morning into the next budget year, and Mayor Matt Mahan of San Jose joining us this morning.
I like these chairs.
You expect to present your budget to the city council, and there's a pretty big gap. Some of your citizens are probably not going to like it a lot because there's about a
residents
$1 billion shortfall for next year. So let's talk about the reason why there's that shortfall.
Sure. Well, Chris, good morning. Thanks for having me. Like the state of California and our county, we've seen slowing revenue. And so we do see a shortfall. The true deficit is actually only about $5 million. When you include everything we need to do to come into compliance with the Clean Water Act, it looks more like a $50 million gap. In an overall budget of about $1.6 billion for our general fund, it's manageable. We actually think we can navigate this without cutting core services and without doing layoffs this year. As we look to out years, unless the economic picture improves, we may be in a tougher position. For this year, what we're doing is really two things. We're eliminating vacant roles that we can do without for another year or two, and we're being more flexible in our use of Measure E funds. We're shifting dollars to more urgent needs. Top of the list is getting people out of our waterways, out of tent encampments faster into basic shelter.
Now, so you're talking about trying to get creative without having to make some of those cuts, not filling those positions that are available. Labor is a big expense. And during those labor negotiations, you were adamant about the fact that San Jose should not commit to raises when we don't know what the picture is down the road. So do you feel a little validated in this position?
Well, just to be clear, I supported raises. I was worried about the magnitude of the raise.
Okay.
I think that the economic data last year was clear that we were likely headed for a slowdown, if not a recession. Fortunately, we're not in a recession as far as we can tell, but we have seen a slowdown in revenue growth. And I was trying to ring the alarm bell and say we should be quite moderate and constrained in what we do, because we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we have to do layoffs. Now, fortunately, this year, I think we'll just narrowly be able to avoid layoffs. I am more worried about next year. We just can't have our labor costs outgrow our revenue growth. We're not the federal government. We're not allowed to just print money. We have to balance our budget every single year. And so if we get too far out there in our
just hit up Sleepy Joe for a loan.
It ultimately leads to reductions in services and layoffs if we don't have that revenue come in.
The difficulty, of course, employees saying, well, I can't afford to live here without
Understood.
that rate. So it is a delicate back and forth.
And our workers have done nothing wrong here. In fact, their unions represented them really, really well and effectively. And we've got a great workforce who serve our community. And I'm proud of our workers at City Hall. I think it's the council's responsibility, though, to look at the numbers and be really honest with everyone about the trade-offs we may face. And I think we took an unnecessary risk last year. Again, I supported 80+% of that raise. I just think it went a little too far. I'm hoping next year that we don't come to regret that decision.
Okay, like they say, there's no such thing as a free puppy, right?
What?
So,
Is that what they say?
In San Jose, and I'm one of them. I am one of your residents. You talk to people, and the issues are about the effects of homelessness, the effects of the affordability crisis for housing. How do you address those really big, high-dollar items when you're also dealing with a budget that is shrinking?
Yeah, absolutely. It's homelessness, crime, and cost of living, largely the housing. Those are the big three.
Crimes, Producer Dave.
And the answer is
all three of them
focused on those things and not try to spread ourselves so thinly that we're trying to be everything to everyone. And it's being more innovative and efficient with our dollars. Let me give you a couple of examples. On public safety, we've begun using technology more to address the fact that we have low staffing levels. Now we're committed to
install a surveillance state. That'll save money.
Grow our department, but we're also investing in automatic license plate readers, automated speed safety cameras, tools that just on the license plate readers will recover $3 million worth of stolen vehicles this year alone. That's a tool we didn't have a few years ago.
Right, but it's not like you get the money from the stolen vehicles, dude.
Right. It's going right into the city coffers, Producer Dave. What are you talking about?
Homelessness, look, the bottom line is we have to comply with the Clean Water Act. We have an environmental mandate in addition to what I would argue is an ethical imperative to get people off the streets into basic shelter connected to services like job training and drug treatment. We can't do that the way that we've been trying to. It's too slow, it's too expensive.
What if you did job treatment and drug training?
Dignified shelter, and when it's available, we need to require that people come indoors and get stabilized and have access to those services.
So I'm sure that you are watching for that decision coming out of the Supreme Court, which would say if we offer you an option other than the streets, then we can ticket you if you don't take that.
Cities need the tools to be able to compel people to come indoors. I don't think that camping should simply be a choice or an option in a
we need to criminalize homelessness.
City,
period.
Like San Jose. That being said, we also have a responsibility for providing, at a minimum, basic, dignified, safe shelter and access to supportive services.
Sure. Okay, so you mentioned crime just a few moments ago. If you drive around San Jose, it doesn't take long to see plywood over business windows. We know that people, small business owners especially, being hit hard by those break-ins. Is there anything that you can do as mayor to kind of address that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things we're doing. In our commercial corridors, we've made an investment in police presence. So foot patrols later this year, we will have bike patrols in our downtown for the first time in many years. I think that presence is very helpful. So investing in the capacity of our department to enforce crime is important. I've also talked about criminal justice reform and the importance of creating accountability for repeat offenders. Accountability may not always have to be jail. It could be an alternative like a secure drug treatment facility. But when someone is repeatedly committing crime and victimizing the broader community, there has to be accountability. There has to be an intervention. I think it's on us to invest in more effective and humane interventions. In some cases, it will be jail. In other cases, it may be drug treatment, job training, and some compulsion for actually engaging with those diversion programs.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mayor Matt May.
You mentioned bike patrol. I vaguely remember a discussion about like in the bike party. No cops at bike party, actually. No bike patrols will be permitted to be riding with bike party.
No, it's not a good vibe, really. Good on them, though. I mean, fine, great. Have some more bike cops downtown. I'm sure that's going to solve whatever problem you think is happening, and whatever problem your supporters think is going on. Yeah, I don't like this at all. The cities need tools to be able to enforce their laws, right? And it's like, dude, come on. You don't need to be able to have to cite people with a misdemeanor for camping outside because you can't figure out a place for them to go, and because they don't want to take the shit place that you offer them to go, right? And that you haven't, you sweep them out of their place where they're comfortable and they've become comfortable, and you throw them into whatever shelter option you have for them, right? And you don't offer them services, and you don't offer them a way out. You just offer them a place to go. And you say, you got to take this or else we're going to give you a ticket, right? We're going to add a burden to you, a court date, a fine, whatever it is, right? So you're already very heavy docket of life, like the life that's put you on the streets in the first place. Like, how much more of a douchebag can you possibly be? And to couch it in, oh, we're trying to help you help yourself, right? Like, you obviously don't know what's best for you, so we're going to require you do this, or we're going to make you a criminal. And that's not meant for others. That's not, looking out for. That's not humane, right? You can't have both. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't know. The solutions are like longer term and and maybe bigger structural things than the city of San Jose can even deal with. So we'll have to see what happens here. I have a feeling that they're gonna if they start ticketing people, you're gonna get some judge somewhere that's just gonna start throwing out the tickets. They're gonna be like, oh, this person, they got ticketed for being homeless. Oh, funny, they didn't make their court date dismissed.
Right. Yeah, I just don't think it has legs here, because even the folks who are the NIMBYs and other folks who are concerned about this, more about the character of their neighborhood and the quality of life, even they can see that's silly season. So I think you're right. I hope you're right, and I hope it doesn't get very far. But this is what we can expect for the next, basically 10 years of, or 8 years now of Mayor Mahan, Mayor Ed 209's leadership. It's going to be more of this, more of the same, more surveillance state, saving money and focusing on the basics. And there are things that cities can do and counties can do to fight income inequality and wage theft and other things that are happening that prevent people from getting a toehold in a place and calling a place home. There are things that they can do. You're right, though. There are systemic problems that go far deeper in our society than just San Jose or any one city. But there are things that cities can do to have an impact on that. And usually, if there is a change, it starts at the local level. So stay tuned to Downballot, everyone. But seriously, that's a plug. But it starts here. We're the laboratory, and the changes that we make here do trickle up.
It's just interesting. San Jose is one of the richest cities on the fucking planet.
It is. It is one of the, and so you think we could figure this out, right? There are also, some have pointed out, by the way, that I think one of our council candidates in my district at least pointed out, there are like 15,000 vacant housing units in San Jose right now. That's houses, it's apartments, it's whatever, right? But 15,000 vacant right now. Some of them are landlords that are looking for people to pay the exorbitant rents. Some of them are landlords that are just sitting on their properties and paying property taxes until they can figure out something better to do with their property. And then some are just sort of sitting on an investment and watching their property values go up and up and up and up. And they're willing to pay the minimal property taxes to watch their property values go up and up and up and up and up so they can sell their house eventually. We have 15,000 and we have 6,000 people living on the street. So there you go. Do the math. And
not all of those properties are just one person would live there, right? Like, no, yeah. Family kind of properties, two bedroom, yeah. 3-bedroom houses, right? So yeah, you could take care of this with a very small fraction of that stock. But again, you're right. Political will to do that, right? To say like, hey, let's do an inventory of all that shit. And oh, look, landlord who's sitting on like thousands of fucking properties, right? Like, what are you doing? How can we help you out? How come that person doesn't get a ticket and a court date? Right, exactly. Like, what do we have to do? Give you like subsidized rent or something for these people? Like, come on. Yeah, exactly. You should get a court date for that. Just like vacant property owners, commercial property owners are getting fined for keeping their properties vacant, right? Because it affects the character of the downtown core, right? The same thing should apply to these fuckers who are sitting on housing that could be used for folks that's ready to go. It doesn't have to be built. It doesn't have to, you don't have to find the land or pay for building it. It's there. It's ready to go. It's all set up. Just like get people in there, and they'll take that. I would if I was living on the street, I would take an apartment or a house for my family, like in a minute. But no, we don't want to go that far. We don't want to do that. We want to do the bare minimum. And that's we're not even talking about like seizing the property. We're just talking about forcing them to fucking use it. Yeah, and fuck it, we'll figure out a way to subsidize it, And a lot of these folks who are unhoused, by the way, they have jobs. It's not like they can't afford something. They can afford something. They can't afford the rent as it is now, the average rents, but they could afford something. And it's not as though you need these market rate rents to make things pencil out, right? And I'm sure government would be willing to figure it out if you're willing to work with us and say, hey, I'm willing to put up these units. What can you do to help me, make ends meet? Because I got to pay the bills too, right? Sure, if you're willing to do that, to take that step, but there, you got to have two willing partners in that dance. Yep. Well, that's the docket. Except we got one more. I guess there is a cheese war. This headline, I didn't even change it. Usually, this is usually the most down-ballot-y story of the week. Actually, isn't and another thing, but this week this is the most down-ballot-y story for sure. Yes, very much so. So award for vegan cheesemakers in Berkeley rescinded. That's the headline. And I have nothing else to say. We should just watch the clip.
Every day there is a new plant-based food product on the shelves. And if you aren't vegan, but give these foods a try every now and then just to shake things up, it might seem like some of them have come a long way and are starting to taste a lot like the real thing. And then there's cheese. Dairy eaters who try vegan cheese seem to be less sold on it.
Oh, that's a drop. And then there's cheese.
Or too nutty.
That's a drop. That's a soundboard drop for sure.
Sarah Donchie with an ultimate drop.
But one company in Berkeley seems to have the vegan cheese thing down, so much so that they may have outperformed all the dairy-based submissions in a major competition. until their vegan cheese was mysteriously disqualified. Climax Foods is the company in question, and Stephen Colbert had a lot of fun with that on the Late Show Tuesday night.
The vegan blue is the product of a company called Climax Foods.
It's too easy.
Why? That is the most unnecessarily sexualized food company name since Kyle's Money Shot Hoagies.
I'd try it. Fuck it.
Even though he used it as a punchline, he decided to see what was so special about the cheese.
I like it. You can really taste the foot.
After seeing his reaction, we sent our Andrea Nakano to take a bite herself alongside a world-famous chef. And while she did, she got the company side of the story about the cheese causing a big stink in the dairy industry.
With cheese being one of the toughest foods to make it plant-based, it was a huge deal for this blue cheese to be considered one of the best. But as one Berkeley company found out, this competition had more holes than Swiss cheese.
Oh, God.
Climax Foods in Berkeley works to create a tastier, healthier, and kinder cheese. This blue cheese was about to take home the gold.
I got an email in January that we were not just finalists but winners.
But then came a technicality that Climax founder and CEO Oliver Zahn didn't even know about.
Literally a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago, they changed their website to say, oh, now it also has to be GRAS certified. And then we were excluded just a week or two before the competition, which is a little bit, I guess, confusing is maybe one way to put it.
GRAS certified translates to generally regarded as safe by the FDA. The ingredient that became the center of the controversy is kokum butter. It comes from the seeds of a kokum tree and is not GRAS certified.
If it would have been a requirement, we could have given them another version of the cheese that uses cocoa butter, which is one of the versions we have.
This controversy has even made the rounds on Late Night with Stephen Colbert, bringing much-needed humor to a disappointing situation.
I loved his way to describe good blue cheese. It has to taste like foot.
Although this cheese is not available for retail yet, it is being used in one of San Francisco's finest restaurants, Atelier Cren. Chef and owner Dominique Cren says she grew up on blue cheese, just like this one in France.
I knew it was going to win because I literally, if I was blind and I couldn't see, and if he give me a test, I will tell him this is an amazing blue cheese.
With Dominique's vote of confidence, I put my taste buds to the test.
I don't know how you did it, but you have the green kind of moldy marbling inside.
The mold grows in the same way as the dairy cheese.
Yeah, and it really does kind of hit you on your palate in the back of the nose when you have it just like a regular blue cheese.
Climax Foods is constantly working to come up with the perfect scientific recipe to create the next best cheese. The goal is to make a product that tastes just as good as dairy cheese at an affordable price. Oliver Zahn doesn't want to fight with the dairy industry, just coexist.
Whatever happened, we were disqualified. I don't want to blame anybody. I just want to offer consumers alternative.
According to Zahn, these cheeses are in restaurants right now, but the goal is to have them available for retail early next year.
All right, I imagine you have to be into blue cheese to like it, but curious to try. By the way, we did reach out to the Good Food Awards for their comment on why all this shook out this way, but we have not heard back.
And then there's cheese.
So, yeah, I think that this is stupid. I do like blue cheese. I don't like blue cheese dressing. That shit's nasty. But I do like blue cheese, like on a salad or whatever. I'd try this. They're like, we would like also to be able to charge you 6 times as much as we should for this in the store.
Right. I mean, they're definitely trying to make a buck for sure. And they're trying to get their money shot in, right? But yeah, very interesting name for a brand. Especially a cheesy brand that stretches out like that. So good on them, though. This will get them some publicity at least. Maybe they'll win their next competition, and things will only be up from here on the rise.
Well, that's the show. You want to read the show out?
Why the hell not? Well, thank you, Producer Dave. As always, it's great to join you here on Down Ballot. We do this show every Tuesday night, except when we don't, at 7 p.m. Pacific time here on the Best Coast. And keep listening and downloading and watching the 9th best podcast in California on local news, according to some dude. We encourage you to get vaxxed, to wear your masks, to tune in for public comment here on the red light portion of the show. But as always, pants are entirely optional. Just don't let that thing wag around. This is going to be Audible Smoke coming up. We hope you will have a great week, and we will see you soon. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside. Let's spark up another joint now. Who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course. Shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. All they say, that he like jamming, and they hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob,